Is this one mine? I think this is the wrong one. This one's mine. I better take it. Wait, did he start it yet? Oh, oops.
Cut that out.
Yeah, okay. Welcome, everyone. So glad you guys can all make it here and online. You can see we're on day 3 of our presentations. Lots of excellent presentations so far. Thank you, seniors, for all your hard work. I'm sure there are many people sitting in the audience right now feeling quite relieved. Good job for everyone who's gone. Today, we have Jenny, Sergio, and Julian up, and you can see the schedule for Thursday and Friday. So without further ado, our next presenter is Jenny. Okay, can I go right now?
Okay. My presentation is about animal testing for beauty products. As many people do not realize is that cosmetic products are being tested on live animals, specifically albino rabbits. Animal testing has been going on for a long period of time, killing and harming animals for humans' own benefits, and is unacceptable. But what many do not know is that there are companies that do not use animal testing at all in their products, which is saving many animal lives. In other words, just like there are companies who test on animals that have other alternatives of many different ways to do their testing without harming them. I like to give a disclaimer. There are some images that can be very graphic and that can be very triggering to others. History of animal testing. Animal testing has been going on since the 1970s, and till this day is still happening, and it has not been stopped. Although there are 40 countries who have banned testing, but in the US they're still doing testing. At first they were testing for medicine, but then started doing cosmetics at the same time as well. The most recent year is 2019, showing that the dark green areas are the places who have fully banned testing, and the stripes are in the process of banning, and the gray area is testing that is required by the government, which is right there. In 2002, more than any other country or state, California took the big part in banning animal testing, and California has been very strict with their banning and includes thousands of dollars if someone were to test an animal anywhere located in the area of California. This graph shows in 1973 through 2019, the most recent year of how many rabbits were and are being used for research. In 2019, there was about 200,000 rabbits being tested, and during 1987, they used around 600,000 rabbits in the US. Before they do their testing, they get albino rabbits to test, since they are much bigger and much easier to work with. And before they do their testing, they grab a really healthy bunny from one of the cages that are numbered to know where they are grabbed from and to know where they, how they are. And then they begin to place the bunny in a small, tight space with the neck gear to make the bunny more stable and easier to work with. It makes it the testing process, it makes it for the people to drop the doses on the eye or insert part in the body without having no problems. As in any animal, they do not understand what is happening and they begin to be frightened. And in this video, you can see what it looks like.
Assumed that the problem doesn't exist or it's gone away, and the reality is the opposite. It's shocking to people.
Americans and Canadians alike are strongly opposed to animal testing for cosmetics.
Assumed that the problem doesn't exist or it's gone away, and the reality is the opposite.
Next again.
There you go, I got it. Okay. There are 2 specific doses that use in labs, which are the Dre's dose and the lethal dose. The Dre's dose is the strongest dose that has been used for testing until they created another similar dose, which is the lethal dose, and is a fast process that can kill the rabbits within seconds, depending on how the reaction affects on it. Dose testings are tested on rodents and such as rabbits before it's given to the albino rabbits to see the differences and to get more different reactions. The LD50, which is known as the lethal dose test, was described more than 70 years ago, right after the Dre's dose, involving 50% of the animals to die often slowly and more painful death from a single dose of the test substance. But this approach has now been substituted by requiring that few animals being used. Although these two doses are more common, they are the most deadly ones from testing, from history, and to our society now. After completing one of the doses, they begin to take notes and start to observe the reactions happening. Each effect you see on these images is usually how they are left. Either they are deaf, blind, and shaved in a certain area on the body from being injected, leaving them to suffer the pain and scared. Most of them don't make it as long, and while there are others who get retested if they see no effects shown as much. Animals other than rabbits. Bunnies and mice are not the only animals being tested, although they may be the main animals for testing. For cosmetics, these animals are also involved, which are the dogs, little mice, and a guinea pig, and still tested with the same similar doses and having the same procedure. These animals should not be living their lives being tested or being in cages that make them go insane. Sadly, they don't understand why they're in cages or why they are being injected or dropped with different doses onto their skin or into their eyes. Although all they know is that they are scared out of their minds, not knowing what to do in a crisis like this, but suffer the pain. And then, around 50,000 of rabbits are being killed all over the world and suffering from these testings. It may have improved and has increased more throughout the 2 years. Most of the rabbits have been taken from their homes and taken straight to the labs. And then this video I'll be showing more of the story of animal testing.
Animal testing for cosmetics. It's still happening here. It's well hidden, but it's still happening. Thought it was a thing of the past? Think again. We're told it's necessary, unavoidable, for our own safety. But is it? Companies want us to look the other way because if we knew the truth, we'd get angry and we'd demand an end of animal testing for cosmetics. And that's exactly what we want you to help us do. Worldwide, nearly 500,000 rabbits and other animals are blinded, poisoned, and killed each year to test new cosmetic products and their ingredients, all to make new and improved claims, or to sell in countries that still require animal testing, like China. But the truth is that animal testing for cosmetics can be stopped immediately without any harm to consumers. There are already thousands of safe ingredients for companies to use, and modern, non-animal testing methods have been proven to be more predictive than last century's animal tests. Nearly 40 countries have already banned animal testing for cosmetics, including the whole of the European Union, with similar bans in development across the globe. The Be Cruelty-Free campaign, led by Humane Society International, is at the forefront of this global cruelty-free trend.
Be Cruelty Free is the largest campaign in history to end animal testing for cosmetics. We have, through Humane Society International and our partners, campaigns on the ground in over a dozen major countries. These are the largest cosmetic manufacturing countries in the world. I think people have assumed that the problem doesn't exist or it's gone away. And the reality is the opposite. It's shocking to people.
Animal testing for cosmetics.
Animal rights. There have been many problems with killing poor innocent animals all over the world for something that is not worth losing their life for us humans. They suffer the most without even people knowing about it, whether they are being killed for their fur or for their meat, or even being treated so poorly. Every animal in the world, whether they are big or small, should have some rights. Millions of animals die for us people to feel glammed up, but that's not the case. PETA is the big help on trying to get any animals to gain the rights for what they need, and still, till this day, hasn't given up. What does PETA stand for? It stands for People Ethical Treatment in Animals. It has been founded in 1980 and is the establishment for defending animals who are not being treated right. It is used to show that no animals of any should be experimented onto, eat, wear, or even used for entertainment, or even used for any abuse in any other way. Although our society is full with many serious problems that grabs our attention, this is one of them, which is cruelty on animals. PETA has been trying to educate the policy makers and including the public about animal abuse and highly promotes the kind treatment for any animal. They even do protests in cities, and they even dress as costumes of bunnies. Companies that still test on animals. These are the most of the beauty products that are still being used for animal testing. There are many more going on the list, but here are a few. Although L'Oreal was the main product that has been using animal testing for many years, and the 5 major main types of cosmetic products that can be living in with testing is skincare range, hair care range, face care range, personal care range, and treatment care range. Alternatives to testing on animals. There are many researchers who are trying to find a solution of animal-free method to study human health or studying diseases, and including testing on for products. PETA suggested 4 different methods that can help. One of the methods that researchers are more onto is the viral method, which is created away with organ on chips that hold human cells or the human organ structure and the function. There are many cell-based tests and tissues of models that can be used for safety of chemicals, drugs, and cosmetics, and even including consumer products. Maltalk Life Science Empty Derm, for example, is a tissue model that is a 3-dimensional and is a model that can be used to replace rabbits in painful, prolonged experiments, been used for chemicals for ability to chondroid or irritancy of the skin. The 3 other methods are the computer in silico modeling, is a computer model that simulates human biology of the progression from developing diseases, and this model can predict the way of the drug's reaction and can replace being used for research. The next one is research with human volunteers by using the method of microdosing that provides vital information of the safety on the drug to see how it is in humans to large scale on human trials, and are given a tiny 1 dose and monitor how it reacts in the human body. Microdosing can replace certain tests on animals that can help visualize the drug that won't work on humans so that they won't be able to test on animals. And lastly is the human patient simulators, is a trauma man that can be able to help with people doing medical research that does breathing, bleeding, talking, and even dies. Many people, for example, students use real dead animals to learn, but this method is life-saving for many animals. In conclusion, to start in helping to save many animals' lives, buying products that are cruelty-free is saving their lives and can change throughout the worldwide who are involved with testing. These are the main labels that some companies put behind their products, letting people know it's cruelty-free. And some companies, depending where they are located, usually don't have this label on their products or anything saying it's cruelty-free. Companies who still to this day uses animals for testing the products and don't put any labels because they know many people won't buy anything from them. And then there are many people who are against animal testing and some people who just grab and go the products without fully knowing more about it. And by buying cruelty-free products, you'll be saving many animal lives. As you saw, I care about animals, so the job I'm interested in being is veterinary technician. Their work environment is working in private clinics, laboratories, animal hospitals, and what they do is they do medical tests that testify the diagnosis of animal injuries or any illnesses. Vet tech needs a 2-year associate's degree and must take a credentialing exam. And they have to become registered, licensed, or certified. And the minimum annual wage for technician is $36,260 per year. I interviewed Jamie Sexton, who works at Bishop Veterinary Hospital, who is a veterinarian technician. I decided to interview her because I want to be a vet, and her giving me advice and telling me what to expect helps me and may help others who may decide to do the same career. Her best advice was to know what you're getting yourself into and to be expected for the unexpected, and it's not going to be easy. My plan is to go to a community college in Mammoth maybe for 2 years and then transferring somewhere down south to finish my last 2 years in college. And that's all I got.
Great job, Jenny.
Thanks.
Yeah, I have to leave in just a second, but I just wanted to let everyone online know Sergio is going to be back at 2:30, and we have time for 1 or 2 questions. Does anyone want to ask Jenny a question, and then we can go off? I have one question. This is what I always like to ask, which is, how did you decide to do this topic? What made you interested in it?
You stole my question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
No, I'm just joking.
I don't know, me and Josie were talking about like the topics, and then I wanted to do something with animals, and then she told me about the testing that animals are being tested for cosmetics, and I was just so interested in that, and I wanted to know more about it, and yeah.
All right, great job.
What time is the next one? 2:30? Why is there so much more chairs in here? Nobody.
Ready? Set. All right, let's continue. Our next presenter is going to be Sergio Santillan on the history of surgery. Before he gets going, we have a lot of students in here who are going to be doing senior thesis next year and the year after that. So, again, what senior thesis is a semester-long project where they do research, and this is kind of the culmination of it is a big paper and this presentation. So it's something that you got to live with for a long time, so you got to like it. So start thinking about what topic you want right now. But Sergio's picked a good one. The history of Sergio. Welcome, Sergio Santillan.
So, since Adam and Eve, humans have looked for ways to understand the human anatomy, and with that came surgery. Thanks to the millions of patients and physicians who died while practicing surgery, today we can save millions of people daily. Ancient surgery. So the proof shows that surgery may begin before 3000 BC, but the first signs are in 3000 BC, which the first signs we can see there was holes in skulls, and they was believed to get rid of the human body spirits. And one interesting thing is that they only used one hole. It was mainly because of religious beliefs and body spirits they wanted to get rid of. And there's actually proof that some people actually survive this type of surgery without anesthesia. So the Greek and Mayans did not stay back for Asian surgery. We can see that the Mayans practiced dental surgery by filling cavities with precious stones. Can you imagine today how much braces cost compared to back then? And the Greeks were actually pretty good at fixing broken bones and doing amputations. Renaissance was during the 14th century and the 17th century. So snatching was a big thing during the Renaissance. Usually body snatching, what it is basically people going to the cemeteries and digging up graves to dissect the bodies in them. And there's actually proof that even students, staff, and faculty members from universities actually went to the cemeteries and dug up their grave for themselves. And there's some history that professors actually went to courts and actually saw executed criminals so that he can bring the body to the dissecting room. But the difficult thing was not getting the corpses, it was dissecting them, because they had all the smells and all the rats around them and all the pus from previous bodies they dissected, and it was horrible, just the smells. But the interesting thing is that countries, states, and cities did not consider body snatching illegally, but it was religiously and morally wrong. So, barber surgeons were also a big thing during the Renaissance. We can see that today that barbers are pretty clean, even though they have to cut hair. But back then, can you imagine how after getting your haircut with all your hair all over your body and mouth, and after getting a haircut, getting your teeth out? So that would happen every day during the Renaissance. So a barber surgeon is basically a craftsman who put teeth, perform amputations, and treating wounds. So we can see that they were super unsanitary with pus all over them, and like they were even joking about it. They were like excellent at performing tooth and treating wounds, but they basically ruined the image of the doctor because they were super arrogant, and also their appearance ruined the image of the doctor because they were basically barbers. So this caused like a mini revolution in the medical world, because the people wanted to build their new image of a doctor. They wanted they wanted the doctor to be a handyman, almost like God, and with intelligence, with an excellent natural disposition, with a strong mentality. We might believe that the painters, and during the Renaissance or today, they only painted like sculpture, like the Mona Lisa or beautiful sceneries. But this was not the case for Da Vinci. So Da Vinci, he painted beautiful sculpture, but at the same time, he even body snatched some graves and even dissected bodies for himself. So we can see in this image that it wasn't about the beauty of the painting. It was more about the detail. He wanted to do it for the knowledge and to help other physicians learn in anatomies. So the modern era surgery, so it was from the 1700s to the 1900s. So a big thing was in the 1700s was amputations. So we can see that these were the tools that they used. They basically used unsanitary tools, and this basically was a one-hand thing. They just basically chopped your leg off. And the bad thing with the doctors, they didn't even care about the patients. Sometimes they only care about the speed because they wanted to compete with other surgeons or physicians to see who's the fastest surgeons. And there were competitions in Europe or in the United States mainly. They did it fast. They did fast amputations because they wanted to lower the risk of infections. And they also did it below the knee because they didn't want the patient to bleed out, basically. So there were many competitions around the world, but they did it for they wanted to do it for a good reason. So they said that they did it fast because they wanted to lower the risk of infection. So they did amputations in less than 3 minutes, and there's even records of doing amputations in 10 seconds. By doing this, they also wanted to lower the pain. If they did it fast, the less pain they felt, they thought at least. So we can see that they needed to hold the patient out, like at least 5 to 10 people, in order to the patient not to move. And we can see in this image that there was another way to do amputations. They basically squished your bone out until it broke. So this created the era of before anesthesia. So we can see that this image basically is a feet surgery they wanted to do, but before anesthesia they couldn't even do feet surgery because it would have been killed the patient. So they needed to hold them down, and many surgeries were out of reach thanks to this, like the heart, the brain, tumors. Many surgeries were out of reach before anesthesia. And before anesthesia, there were many possibilities of the patient dying out because of too much blood. So in 1843, Wilson was a patient who actually survived surgery and felt the pain for all his life. He basically tells us his experience, how the pain didn't start for him with a few days or a few weeks or even a few years, but actually stuck with him his whole life. And that was because the pain just stuck with him because the pain wasn't only mentally, but it was also physically. So as I talked before, they needed to hold them down, and these were some tools to do amputations and stuff. But some patients actually prefer to die before yielding to the pain of the surgery. And since doctors wore like black with unwashed coats with pus all over them from previous surgeries, this gave the patient an image or a sense of how painful the surgery will be. So finally, in 1846, they found out what anesthesia is. So a patient in 1846 went to the dentist's office and had like an aching tooth. So basically the dentist actually mixed some liquids and injected it to the patient and pulled the teeth out, and he found out that the patient didn't actually feel pain. So he thought it was the best discovery ever, but actually for the next few years it would cause a lot of problems. After they discovered anesthesia, there were many complications, and this was because patients would stay for a week or even months in beds because they couldn't recover from overdoses the anesthesia gave them, and many of them died too. So when they want to do regional surgery, like a toe surgery or hand surgery, they actually injected anesthesia, but it affected the whole body. So that's why, because they didn't know how to do only regional anesthesia instead of just like the hand. So actually, the death rate for the first, after 20 years went up after the discovery of anesthesia because people die from overdoses. But after 20 years or so, they actually found success. They did open heart surgery, brain surgery, and brain tumors. So as we can see in this graph, the death rate for all history of surgery stayed about the same, about 90%. But after the discovery surgery, it drastically fell down to 15%, and this wouldn't be possible without germs. So germs were basically infections, and it was discovered about the same time. So in this video we'll see
Joseph Lister published his first paper in the BMJ in 1867 and remarkably went on publishing in the journal for another 40 years. He is of course best known for his studies of antisepsis and the introduction of surgical techniques which transformed survival rates after surgery. About half of all patients who were subjected to surgery died as a consequence before Lister's work. We've chosen Lister as one of the few representatives of 160 years of publication in the BMJ. Is that justified? What was so special about him?
Oh, it's certainly justified. I mean, the change, the benefit that he brought to generations of patients as a result of antiseptic and later aseptic technique. It enabled surgery of the abdomen, surgery of the chest, surgery of the joints, surgery of the head, none of which would have been possible without antiseptic techniques before.
So we can see that many surgeries weren't possible without the discovery of germs, and since it was discovered about the same time with anesthesia, they both combined, and that's why the death rate drastically fell down. So present-day surgery. So today antibiotics were discovered in 1928, and blood transfusions were actually performed in the 1940s, and the first open heart surgery was possible in 1952. And today we can do almost any kind of surgery. Today we can do full face transplant, heart transplants, but the beautiful thing is that we can literally change people's life. Like we can see in this person, how we can change his eating habits, and we can change his life basically with a beautiful smile. So as you guys can see, I'm interested in the medical field. I'm mainly becoming a doctor or surgeon, and for this you have to go 4 years of college, mainly take science classes, then 4 years of medical school, and then after that 3 to 8 years in order to specialize in the medical field. So they usually make about $100 per hour, or about $200,000 per year, and you need a doctoral or professional degree, and you need to do internships, and the jobs increases as time goes by. So this is some majors I have looking for the most common majors for doctors. We can see that biology is first, but the interesting thing is that you can even have a history or an English major and still become a doctor. So my interview was with Dr. Kim Scudero, who was a pediatrician in Mammoth. We talked about the pathway to becoming a doctor, and how even though we go to healthcare, we still have to think about the money.
Depending where you go, just like college, they'll have, sometimes they have scholarships or grants, sometimes they have loans, but it is a huge problem, is the cost of medical school, okay? So medical school, when I went to medical school, it was $22,000 a year, and that was 20 years ago, 30 years. Ooh, I graduated medical school in 95. Yeah, so that's like 25 years. So medical school now, I don't know if you've looked into it, but it is very expensive.
You can
And
look for scholarships and stuff while you're.
You can definitely apply for scholarships, right? Some people work, but not many. But the problem is, so let's say if you take some loans out, when you're done with school, now you're a resident. You get paid to do on-the-job training, but it's not a large amount of money, right? You still get paid, but it's enough for you to live on, and it may be you can start paying your loans, but most people come out of medical school with $200,000 in loans. So now you have to get a job, you want to start a family, and you have to pay back all this money. So it makes a difference what you choose for your life. And I will tell you this, pediatricians and family doctors don't make a lot of money. We make the least amount of money for physicians. And the average physician, a pediatrician or family doctor, it makes about $150,000, which is a lot of money, yes, but when you already, the first day you start your job, you already owe $200,000 to the government. And so that's the hard part. But if you choose a surgical specialty, it takes a couple more years to finish, right? So maybe you have to take 5 or 6 years to finish, but you will make a lot more money. You know, you'll make anywhere, depending where you work, $400,000, $500,000. So I'm going to assume, as the man in the family, you will likely be the primary breadwinner. You will be the person that makes the money in the house. So it's something to think about. And I know nobody likes to talk about money because we go into healthcare because we want to help. But that being said, you still have to think about your future, right? Because
So she basically told me how even though we want to help people, we still need to think about the future because we get about $200,000 in loans and we have to start a family, and we need to pay that off to the government.
depending where you go, just like college, they'll
So my 4-year plan is to attend a 4-year university, and my first choices are the Claremont colleges such as Claremont McKenna, Pomona, and Amherst College over Massachusetts. Then my second choices are the UCs, which are UCLA, UNR, and UC San Diego, and basically there's a private college which is UCSC, which I think Godoy will like. So after college, if everything goes well, I want to attend medical school. It's about 4 years, and after those 4 years, so it takes about 3 to 8 years to specialize in a medical field, such as 2 years for a pediatrician or physician, or even up to 8 years for a surgeon. Thank you for watching.
Next up.
All right, now. Because I feel like we. Right.
Get.
4 minutes, give me those 4 minutes, give me those 4 minutes.
Sorry, Lisa. Or should I announce your sponsor?
Yeah, not my sponsor.
You should have a card in there. Yeah. Oh, we can't see Julian's sponsorships. Lights Out Entertainment is a proud sponsor of Julian's senior thesis. So for our final senior thesis presentation of the day is Julian Baltazar with financial literacy. This is a totally different topic. So again, you can pick, there's a super wide range of things you can pick. So again, start thinking, juniors. Any other juniors? So it's coming soon. So again, pick something you like and hopefully you'll get a lot out of it. So ready? Without further ado, Julian Baltazar.
All right. Someone making a lot of money does not mean to use it wisely. If someone makes 5 figures but spends most on expensive items, those 5 figures are worth near nothing. Because those people who make more tend to spend more. The only way to make sure your money lasts is if you use it wisely, and this is how. One aspect to developing financial literacy is to learn how to budget and be cautious about spending. This is the first step to becoming financially literate and making sure hard-earned money lasts. If this step isn't taken, it will be very difficult to be financially stable and make wise choices later down the line. When it comes to managing your own cash flow, there is no hidden secret magic formula. To improve your cash flow, you must either earn more income or spend less money. Many Americans of all ages are overwhelmed by debt. Learning how to manage your money as well as possible is going to do you good in the future because debt is going to be an inevitable thing unless you take those steps to learn how to become a smarter spender, smarter saver, and smarter investor. In other words, you need to break out of those bad habits and turn them into good habits that will make you wealthier later down the line than you are now. Here's a quick summary of what it is and how important becoming financially literate is.
Financial decisions, which result into desired financial outcomes. It is not about knowing the stats and complex financial concepts. It is simply the ability to make right financial decisions in personal finance. It is quite possible that a college dropout is more financially literate and successful than a PhD or MBA. In fact, educational institutions focus only on scholastic and professional training. They do not teach about money and finances. That is the reason why so many brilliant physicians, engineers, accountants, lawyers, artists, and civil servants struggle in their financial life. They know how to earn money, but they don't know how to manage money well. Schools and colleges train kids to be hardworking and diligent employees who follow rules and procedures. So the financial training is entirely left to parents, or the cold, practical world teaches the basic lessons of money in a hard way. Why not start educating yourself about money matters and learn these skills in a soft way? Otherwise, the rich will continue to get richer and the poor poorer. The rich will surely teach their kids the financial matters themselves, while the poor kids will never learn these lessons. Let us exercise our mind to grow it like a bodybuilder exercises his muscles in a gym. Some people misunderstand that money is wealth. But money may come and go. The only sustainable wealth is financial education, experience, and training. This wealth will never leave you. If you go broke sometime in your life and lose all your money, you can acquire even more money by your financial education, acumen, and training. That is your real wealth.
To be good with money, the first step is acceptance. Acceptance of compulsive money purchase behavior. You'll know if you have bad habits of spending money on ridiculous things. If, say, you buy an $800 jacket or a $1,200 monkey. Breaking those habits is crucial to making sure your hard-earned money lasts long. There is no bad time to start money management, but it is better if you start early while you're still young due to financial consequences not being as impactful to you. Use this time to financial cushion as a learning opportunity about the world of money. Learn how to open a savings account, how not to be in credit card debt and living expenses. I was fortunate enough to interview Willis Taylor, a stock analyst on Wall Street, the world's biggest trading center. And as I interviewed him, he explained the importance of financial literacy in his job and in life.
How important is financial literacy as a worker in this field?
It's incredibly important. So if you, a carpenter has a saw, a hammer as their tools. Okay, my tools are money, right? If I don't have money to invest, I could have the best ideas in the world, and I can't put them. I don't have the tools to put them to work. So one, I need to be financially literate to the point where I am saving my own money so that I can invest my own money. And then I need my clients to be financially literate. So when I have a first conversation with my clients, I always bring up financial literacy. And I ask questions to figure out how literate they are. Are you saving money? How much, what are your expenses versus your income? How much debt do you have? What upcoming financial events do you have that you're prepared for? And based on, I might not take a client if I think, I'll take a client with almost any amount of money, but if I think they're going to spend the money or that they need the money for something else in a short amount of time, what I do is not appropriate for them. So financial literacy is incredibly important. I wish that they taught it in schools. Like they used to kind of do a little bit with home economics. I wish that they did a class on it because there are, credit cards are not appropriate for a lot of people. There are a lot of loans that people take on that are not appropriate. And if you have kind of a different attitude about how to save money, you can still buy the things you want or have the experiences you want without the consequences of debt. And I think one of the main goals of financial literacy is to allow you to live a lifestyle that makes you happy and to avoid some of the financial pitfalls that can make it very hard to get ahead, like having too much debt is probably the biggest one, or constantly needing money or to make more money. But this is a challenge that everybody has. I would observe that the people that I know that make millions of dollars every year are stressed about budgeting and figuring out, do they have enough money? And the people that are making, $10,000 a year have those same concerns. And so it's never about the amount of money. It is about, do you understand, are you funding your lifestyle, whatever that lifestyle is, correctly based on the income that you can earn? And that comes down to financial literacy. So no matter the level of sophistication, it's important for everybody.
There is no limit to beginning managing. It does not matter if you make thousands of dollars or a couple hundred. Commit to saving money regularly. Think about paying yourself first. Whatever your income is, save a percentage of that. This leaves you to have money saved and money in use. The money saved will be used to help purchase any emergency services or items later down the road. Open a savings account that put fundings in it for specific goals that are weeks, months, or even years away, such as college. If you have an itch to take money out using a separate federal insured savings account, so the urge to raid the funds are slim. For large purchases years ahead, consider the certificate of deposit and U.S. savings bonds because they generally earn more interest than any other savings account because you agree to keep funds untouched for a period of time. But as of right now, the interest is pretty low, but they are still a good place to start and one of the safest. A good way to manage your money is by using a 50-20-30 rule.
To help us illustrate this rule, I'd like you to say hello to John. John's an average guy who makes $4,500 a month after tax. Using the 50-30-20 rule, John will need to divide his money like this. 50% of his money, which is $2,250, will go into his needs. 30%, which is $1,350, will go into his wants. And 20%, which is $900, will go into his savings, or paying off debt. Just like John, you too will need to divide your income into those categories. Simple, right? But let's look at it a little closer. Step 1. Limit your needs. Needs are things you can't live without. These include things such as housing, health, transportation, utilities, food, paying off debt, and the bare minimum for clothing, shoes, and other living supplies. Only include items you can't survive without in this category. If you don't have a budget, this would be the ideal time to create one. Carefully analyze what you spend your salary on each month within this category. Warren and Tiagi, who are financial experts, say this category should not exceed 50% of your monthly income. If it does, then something is wrong. If you do, however, spend more than 50% of your paycheck on your needs, don't panic. All you need to do is carefully evaluate what you spend your money on each month. A good rule of thumb is to track your expenditure so you can have a good picture of where your money goes. Once you know where your money is going, adjust your needs by reducing unnecessary expenditures or find cheaper alternatives. Once your budget matches the 50% limit, you can now proceed to the next step. Step 2. Define wants. Now a whole 30% of your paycheck going towards your wants may sound like a whole lot of money, right? You may be picturing a nice pair of shoes, or that new iPhone that got released the other day. As nice as all those things are, we're not talking about buying your deepest desires. By wants, we mean expenses you can opt out of spending on, but your life would be harder without them. I'm not sure your life will be any harder without that new phone, but you might find it hard to communicate without a mobile data plan. This category should include things like your internet plan, data plans, home cable bills, mechanical, not cosmetic repairs to your car, and so on. I bet you now get it. Sometimes it may be hard to distinguish between needs and wants, but the rule of thumb when it comes to defining a want is by asking yourself if you can live without it. And if you can, then it's most likely a want.
Teens are going into college during a time of skyrocketing tuition, borrowing more money than any generation before, and will emerge into a shaky job market. As our economy continues to increase, there will be lots of changes in jobs and wages. With this drastic change, knowing how to manage money as efficient as possible is going to become very vital in order to live comfortably. Here are the rankings of degrees and how much each of them pay after college, with the percentage of people that are unemployed with the degree. As you can see, the higher the degree, the more money you'll make and the less of a problem you'll be faced finding a job. The career I want to pursue is in stocks and becoming a stockbroker, someone who cold calls qualified people and gives them an opportunity to make a lot of money by investing in a company that is on track to becoming the next hit. As of education, a bachelor's degree is required with an average salary of $60,000, but increases the more you work for the company, the max being $105,000. Here are more recent and more in-depth information about the job. For my 2-year plan, I'll be first attending one of these 2-year colleges, then transfer to a 4-year to finish receiving the bachelor's I need to in order to become a stockbroker.
Very nice question. Do we have any questions for Sergio or Julian?
What made you want to become a stockbroker?
To be honest, I don't have a very entertaining story. I just watched the movie and I was like, yo, this is cool. That's it.
So I knew it because we didn't ask any questions of Sergio. Does anybody have questions for Sergio? We're not
I wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to do history and surgery because I wanted to see if I wanted to be a part of this, like if it was a good thing or a bad thing. And I decided it was a good thing because today we can help millions of people every day. And I want to be in that part of history. Yeah.
I'll say bye to the TV audience. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll be back again tomorrow with who's going tomorrow? Is it Beverly, Cohen, and Gunner? So tune in tomorrow. We'll be back for more. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Good job. Everybody.
Wait, I failed.